Hi everyone, it's Maria from Creative Grids, and today I have got a 4-in-1 Hexie designed by Mariana Diaz to show you. This little tool can cut 4 different shapes. You can do a 4.5-inch hexagon, a 4.5-inch half hexagon, a 2.5-inch triangle, and a 2.5-inch diamond. And all of those shapes, when sewn together, create another 4.5-inch hexagon. So you've got lots of fun parts to play with. Let's take a closer look at what this little tool can do. First, I want to show you how to cut a 4.5-inch hexagon. That's going to be the entire size of the tool. So I've cut some 4.5-inch strips, and I'm simply going to lay that on there and cut with my rotary cutter 2 sides. I'm going to rotate that mat so I can cut the other 2 sides without trying to cut under my arm, which really isn't safe. And I'm kind of guessing where to stop there at the end to get that full hexagon. And I missed one little hair. There we go. So there, just like that, I've got 4 4.5-inch hexagons. And then I'm going to keep cutting across the strip until I've got the number that I need for whatever pattern or project I'm working on. Just like all of our rulers, on the back we have our exclusive grip, and you all know that we can move it around on the fabric until we get it where we want it. Turn that mat one more time. And then with just a little bit of pressure, that ruler is going to stay in place so I can cut without slipping and without making a jagged cut that I'm going to have to fix or harvest those hexagons somewhere else. So as easy as that. Aren't those just gorgeous? Next, let's work on a half hexagon, which is a 4.5-inch hexagon to match this shape. I'm going to lay those strips right on my rotating mat because, again, I'm going to have to cut on both sides of the template. You'll see this solid line here and the dotted lines. The dotted lines are the seam allowance. That solid line needs to sit right on the raw edge of that 2.5-inch strip. And isn't that awesome? 2.5-inch strips. To think of all those sets you've got at home you've been collecting and didn't know what to do with. Here's a perfect project for those. She starts with it laying like this in the instructions. So I can cut up the side. And look how clever is that. See what I just did there? Those little ears get cut right off so there's no jagged tails hanging out when you go to sew them together. And carefully turn that around, leave the ruler right where I've got it, and cut the other side. Pull that strip away just a little bit to cut the ears. And I've got 4 half hexagons. Now you know the drill. For the next one, I'm just going to rotate the template. Raw edge and fresh cut raw edge over here, minus those little tails. Now I can cut down this side. Cut off the ears. And that other tail right there. You're going to keep going across that strip until you have the right amount of 4.5-inch half hexagons for your project. Next up are some 2.5-inch triangles. So I've got my set of 2.5-inch strips again. I'm going to take the ruler and tilt it like this. See where the little logo ended up? And now the diamond shape is laying straight on that strip. This is to get your triangles started. Isn't that clever? She's using all the features on this template to do all of those shapes. So we'll start by cutting up the side. Here's those little ears get cut off again. Ears or tails or whatever you call them. I'm going to rotate this around so that angled cut is on the left. And I'm going to find that triangle on my template. The ears and the raw edges should line up with those dark outlines of the shape. And I'm going to cut a triangle. I'm going to rotate that mat and rotate my template. Cut off those little tails. And rotate one more time. I'm going to rotate that template one more time. Just like that. See the triangle part? The dark outer lines. It takes a little bit for my brain to get used to the fact that I'm not reading this right side up, but this is correct. So here's your next triangle. And the one after that, it's going to line up right on there. Cut off those little ears. I'm going to rotate this piece around because that's an option too. Lay that triangle back on there to cut off those other ears. So rotate that one more time to show you. There's the dark lines for that triangle. And again, you're going to get fully illustrated instructions where this is all laid out for you. You're just going to have to play with it and get used to the fact that it gets twisted and turned all these different ways to get your shapes. I'm going to keep working my way across that strip until I've got however many triangles I need for my project. For the diamonds, I'm going to start with another set of 2.5-inch strips. I'm going to use my template and I'm going to follow the instructions and lay that diamond right on top of the strip. So now I'm looking at this. You always need to start with an angled cut, whether you're cutting the full hexagon, the half hexagon, the triangle, or the diamond. But I'm really glad for the illustration so that I know I've got it laying on there just right. I'm going to cut those sides off and those little tails again. Rotate the strip and the ruler around, and I'm going to rotate this so that that diamond sits right on top of the strip now. Ta-da! 4 2.5-inch diamonds ready to go. For the next one, I don't have to rotate anything. I can lay that ruler template right on top of there and just keep cutting. I don't want to cut under my arm, so I am going to turn it to cut the tails off over here, but I don't need to move the ruler to do that. Let's do one more set of diamonds for good measure. Make sure my strips are even. Well, that's not going to work because my diamond's in there, so remember you want to rotate it. So you get along those raw edges and then 2 new cut edges right here. Now, as an added bonus, you can also fussy cut with this little template. I've got some really darling garden fairies on this fabric, and I want just the girl on the swing. So I can see with the dotted lines, that is what's going to show when I piece that together in the quilt. So I have to decide, do I cut off part of her wing or part of her foot? I think we're going to leave the wing on there, and I want the flowers, and we're going to set it just like that. Now all I have to do is cut all the way around the template, and I've got another 4.5-inch hexagon to put into a project. I'll try to cut as conservatively as possible in case I want to fussy cut another set of flowers or another fairy in the sky there. That's such cute little fabric. You can do this with any novelty fabric, or maybe it's a print that there's something in that print you want to see. I think I did all 4 there. And just like that, I have a little fairy, a garden fairy in a hexagon ready to sew. So not only the whole hexagons, either cut from strips or fussy cut from your fun fabrics, the 4.5-inch half hexagons, 2.5-inch triangles, and 2.5-inch diamond shapes all come from this one great little tool. Thanks so much for tuning in to watch this video on the 4-in-1 Hexie designed by Mariana Diaz. Be sure to like and follow us on all social media, and I'll see you guys all real soon.